There is a specific kind of cruelty reserved for people who think they know your story just by looking at you. A group of total strangers looked at me in a crowded room and decided I was a punchline. They thought they were just mocking a shallow woman with a cheap cosmetic upgrade, but they had no idea about the scars hidden beneath my clothes or the literal fight for my life I had just survived. And when I finally opened my mouth, I didn't just shut them down, I watched the blood drain completely from their faces. If you've ever been underestimated, judged unfairly, or wished you had the perfect, devastating comeback to a bully, hit that like button, subscribe, and buckle in. Today's story is a short, sharp reminder that karma has a beautiful way of delivering instant justice. It was a Friday night, our wedding anniversary. The air in the restaurant bar was thick with the scent of expensive gin, wood smoke, and loud laughter. I sat on a high leather bar stool, nervously smoothing down the fabric of my blouse. It was a low-cut top, emerald green, and wearing it was a massive victory for me. Exactly 1 year prior, my life had been completely upended. Because of a brutal hereditary gene, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. What followed was a blur of sterile hospital rooms, blinding white lights, a deeply terrifying double mastectomy, and months of grueling recovery. I had literally allowed doctors to hollow out a part of my identity so that I could stay alive to see another anniversary with my husband. My new implants were still fresh. They hadn't quite settled in yet. They looked high, stiff, and aggressively buoyant like plastic spheres resting against my chest. I felt intensely self-conscious about them. Every glance in the mirror was a reminder of the trauma my body had endured. But tonight, I wanted to feel beautiful again. I wanted to surprise my husband. I wanted to feel like a woman, not a patient. Then, the noise behind me shifted. A group of mid-30s men and women spilled into the booth right next to my stool. They were already several drinks deep, their voices carrying that obnoxious, unearned confidence that only alcohol can provide. At first, I tuned them out. But then, a sharp, piercing laugh cut through the ambient noise. "Oh my God, look," a woman's voice whispered, not nearly as quietly as she thought. "Talk about trying too hard." My shoulders went rigid. I froze, my glass of wine halfway to my lips. A man in the group chimed in, his tone dripping with mockery. "Right? God, I absolutely hate women with fake breasts. It's so tacky. It's like, can you be any more artificial?" The group dissolved into giggles. The icy claws of anxiety gripped my throat. My heart began to hammer against my ribs, right against the very implants they were discussing. I stared straight ahead at the rows of liquor bottles behind the bar, my face burning hot. "Seriously?" another woman in the booth sneered, her voice practically dripping with malice. "Women who get those are just completely fake human beings. It's pathetic. Like, what are you trying to prove?" They weren't just criticizing a fashion choice, they were stripping away my humanity. They were standing on the shores of my survival and calling it pathetic. They had no clue about the surgeries, the drains, the agonizing pain, the tears shed in the dark. To them, I was just a walking stereotype, an easy target for a cheap laugh. I felt a tear prick the corner of my eye. For a second, the familiar wave of powerlessness threatened to consume me. I wanted to shrink. I wanted to run to the bathroom and hide. But then, something shifted inside me. The sadness didn't vanish, it hardened. It turned into a cold, sharp rage. Why should I hide? I had fought the literal angel of death and won, and I was not about to be bullied by a bunch of insecure adults in a gentrified bar. Slowly, deliberately, I swiveled my bar stool around to face them. The moment my stool turned, the laughter in their booth faltered slightly, but they didn't stop. They looked at me with smug, defiant smirks, waiting to see if the fake girl was going to cause a scene. They thought they had the upper hand. I looked them dead in the eyes. I let the silence stretch between us for 3 agonizing seconds until the smirks began to fade into uncomfortable shifting. In a voice that was perfectly calm, terrifyingly clear, and loud enough to carry over the music, I spoke. "You know what I hate a whole lot more than fake breasts?" The table went dead silent. The main instigator, a woman holding a cocktail, blinked at me, her mouth slightly open. Nobody breathed. I leaned in just an inch. Breast cancer. The effect was instantaneous. It was like dropping a flashbang grenade into their booth. The smug smiles evaporated. The man who had called me artificial looked like he had just been slapped across the face with a wet fish. The women turned an asynchronous shade of pale, their eyes widening in sheer, unadulterated horror as the reality of what they had done crashed down on them. They hadn't just made fun of a vain stranger. They had publicly mocked a cancer survivor on her anniversary. For a long moment, nobody said a word. The heavy silence was a suffocating weight. Finally, one of the guys in the back cleared his throat, his face bright red. "Shit," he mumbled, staring down at his coaster. Sorry." Within 60 seconds, they were scrambling. They threw down cash for a bill they hadn't even finished, avoiding my gaze entirely, and practically tripped over their own feet trying to escape into the night. The booth was empty before my glass of wine even settled. Just as the door swung shut behind them, my husband walked in. He sat down, took one look at my flushed face, and asked what happened. When I told him, we didn't cry. We actually burst out laughing, because the universe had handed me the ultimate mic drop moment. The moral of the story? Never judge a book by its cover, because you never know the battles someone fought just to keep their pages turning. If that instant karma put a smile on your face, smash that like button right now. Drop a comment below and let me know. What's the most satisfying comeback you've ever delivered or witnessed? Don't forget to subscribe for more legendary stories, and I'll see you in the next one.